Welcome to MPUNGWE-PUNGWE YouTube channel. Subscribe for you to enjoy more of our videos anytime we upload.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee and members of the Secretariat, having received a letter from this House dated 10th June 2026 requiring me to submit in writing and in person details of my role in the acquisition of services of the plane that took the late Vice President from Lilongwe but crashed on the way to Mzuzu in Tungwa Forest, which is part of Vipsha Plantations in Nkatabe District. Here is my submission. The death of Raf Kasambara SC in Lilongwe. On the 7th of June 2024, Council Mchuka Mwale informed me of the loss of his cousin, Mr. Raphael Kasambara SC in Area 47, Lilongwe. I informed Dr. Salos Klaus Chilima, who was winding up his delegated leadership role as Malawi was participating in the South Korea Africa Summit. He was greatly saddened by the death of his close friend and asked me to update him on the funeral programs so that he can plan his attendance. Moving of remains of late Raf Kasambara SC to Blantyre, then to Nkatabe. On 8th June, Council Mchuka Mwale informed me of a decision by the family to move the body of late Raf Kasambara from Lilongwe to his house in Blantyre. The body will then be taken for Holy Mass at Montfort Parish CI at 12 noon, and later on move the body to Nkatabe on 9th June 2026. This complicated the preparations for the VP to attend, but then we heard that the family, with support from friends, have managed to hire an MDF Donia plane. Burial was therefore scheduled for 10th of June 2026, the day that coincided with a presidential activity of former President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera wanting to fly out for a summit in the Caribbean. Arrival of late Dr. Salos Klaus Chilima in Malawi from Korea. On 9th June 2024, Dr. Chilima arrived at Chileka with his wife, Chileka Airport, now Bakir Muluzi Airport, at about 20 minutes to 3 in the afternoon from Johannesburg, where he had stopped for 2 nights on his way from South Korea. There I was able to go and visit Lucius Banda, who sadly passed on a few days later after this accident. In Chileka, I was hoping to meet the family of the late Raf Kasambara as they were preparing to leave for Mzuzu, so that maybe he could excuse himself from not attending the funeral, but promising them to send high-ranking family members and officials. And the excuse would have been justified. He had just been on a long journey from Korea, and the need to see off the president as he was embarking on a foreign trip is a big custom in Malawi. But the hearse did not arrive on time. Therefore, Dr. Chilima failed to meet the family at Chileka Airport. And he was resting in the VIP lounge, was told that the plane is proceeding to Lilongwe. Having failed to meet the family, he started calling his office, Dr. Skc Kuulura in particular, to start booking the MDF Donia aircraft the next day. MDF told the VP office that there's only one Donia that was in service at the time, and it was already hired by friends of late Raphael Kasambara. So on that afternoon, for Dr. Saulos Klaus Chilima to attend the burial of late Raf Kasambara on 10th June at 11 hours, not 10 hours, but at 11 a.m. in the morning, and seeing off the president at 1700 hours in Lilongwe in the afternoon, it meant the MDF Donia 228 plane making 4 trips of 45 minutes each. This is about 3 hours of flying time, on top of about 2 hours for the relatives to go back to Blantyre in the plane that was hired. It looked hectic but doable because aircrafts can fly 18 hours in a day without a problem. Booking the plane with MDF, Dr. Sikwese proceeded to book the plane by speaking to the Army commander between 15 hours and 17 hours on the afternoon of the 19th June. The General Ishmael Air Force commander said that a plane that is already on hire should not be released to another customer. And therefore there was need for contacting the family to ask for release of the aircraft for use by the VP. I contacted family members led by Council Mchuka Mwale. Approval was granted, although they expressed that there was no need for the Vice President to go to the funeral of their relative. He had just returned from a long trip, and that the family would understand if he didn't go to Mzuzu, then to Nkatabe. Final confirmations for the itinerary. The VP called for me. I went to his residence and was there between 8:30 and 9:30 in the evening of the 9th of June. We confirmed the passenger list, and I did mention the concerns of the family to say, look, there's no need to force yourself. He said, no, Raf Kasambara was my good friend. I went home and I left Lilongwe at 4:45 on the morning of 10th June as part of advance party with a driver. Arrived at Mzuzu Hotel, changed, and was at late Raf Kasambara's village by 10 a.m. Around the same time, the plane would have been arriving in Mzuzu. Communication breakdown. I was surprised that WhatsApp messages to the late VP and other people were not going through. I therefore decided to call people on the ground at Mzuzu Airport at about 10:30 to say what is going on, and they told me that the plane had left at around 9:15. Several reports will say 9:17, and they were also surprised that they haven't heard an aircraft approaching Mzuzu Airport, although it had taken more than an hour instead of the 45 minutes that was scheduled. Missing plane alert. At 11 a.m., Catholic priests were advised by late Raf Kasambara's family to commence the Holy Mass at the village. Other people were saying the plane didn't arrive because of bad weather. It has gone back to Lilongwe. But for me, it was around 11 o'clock that Brigadier General Professor Dan Kuwali beckoned me in a very strong manner that I should leave the VVIP podium for a discussion behind a tent where army officers were sitting when the mass was starting. Behind the tent, he told me that he had heard from his office that the plane is missing. They are trying to contact. It is not in touch with the dispatching airport or the receiving airport. There was zero communication. I do have a lot of friends in the aviation industry. I called two of them. They expressed their worry. They did say that the radio system used in the aircraft rarely fails, and that if there's no communication, there's no communication with alternate airports, Karonga, Likoma, or even Chipata, Tet, then the plane is not in the air. One of them actually said, expect the worst. So I sat in my car making phone calls between Lilongwe and Mzuzu. By 12 o'clock, I decided to go to Mzuzu Airport, where information was that a team will be dispatched to Ekwendeni, because the last communication with Mzuzu recorded without any machine that the plane would fly over and approach the landing strip from Ekwendeni using the M1 road as the beacon. It is a practice that has been done many times because the MPUNGWE Chikangawa area is foggy most of the time. Attempts to go to Ekwendeni were stopped at about 2 o'clock, and we heard that no, the plane should be in the Chikangawa area. I therefore joined the search for the plane. That evening, we went. Now I go up north quite often nowadays. The search stretched over 90 kilometers, and it seemed like we really didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have a starting point, a proper starting point. The search was called off at near Riply factory to say the forest is big, there's nothing we can do on that night. I returned to Mzuzu, arrived back in the Chikangawa area, and then there was splitting of teams into 12. With information I was getting from other people, I decided to go to the northern side, and our team went to the famous settlement that is 700 or a kilometer away from the actual site of the crash. There, the testimony of a teacher and the children pointed towards the southern eastern side of that settlement. We went to the next turn, climbed the mountain, came down, we didn't see anything. By the time I was getting back on the M1, we just started following lots of vehicles that went to the site where the plane was found. It was cordoned off. Being an employee of the VP office as well as a relative of the late, I was allowed close to the crash. That's when I saw several bodies, and I could identify the body of Right Honorable Saulos Chilima. I sent a message to Madam Mary Chilima that we have found, the plane has been found, rather, but that there are no survivors. So in short, that describes my 4 days handling this aircraft. Let me stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Varela. Members may want to probe more or seek clarification. So may I open the floor, starting with the Mwanza Center. May I request you, Mr. Varela, to drop off your mic? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I have a few questions. I just want Mr. Varela to confirm that the search was called off. And at the same time, if he can recall the individual or the office that called off the search. And if he can repeat the time that the search was called off. For now, Chair.
You may respond.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of time, 9:30 earliest, 10:15 latest. The search was being coordinated, from what we could see, by Regional Commissioner North of Police, Commissioner Luhanga, who is now the IG. There were about 10 army officers only, but definitely more than 50 police officers. And well-wishers from UTM, Afford, and other well-wishers just joined the search. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. On the number of army officers, you're saying there were about 10 army officers?
Yes.
Thank you. Chair, in the report, I want you to take note about the number of officers that Mr. Varela is mentioning, so that we compare with the number of officers that were involved in the search, number one. Number two, in the report, there is an indication that the search was not stopped. So I want to take note. There is an allegation, Mr. Varela, that...
Point of order. Point of order. So which report are you referring to? Which report? Can you be very specific?
Yes, the last inquiry. And there's an allegation, Mr. Varela, from people who were at MPUNGWE during the siege, that some civilians volunteered to proceed with the siege and they were stopped. So I just want you to confirm whether that information is true.
Through you, Chair, I did not witness any incident where volunteers were being stopped to search. Secondly, there could have been other search parties that were not being managed by the regional police commissioner. That's a possibility. But what seemed to have been the main search team was commanded from Reply factory area along the M1 at the roadblock. That is the search that discontinued to say due to visibility and lack of preparedness in dressing. The search could not continue.
Thank you. Last one, Chair. Since you got to the scene, we could probably say maybe within the first minutes of the identification of the scene. Did you probably got information as to who were the first to get to the scene between the military and the police?
I got to the scene at about 10:30, and having seen the condition of the aircraft and the bodies, I broke down and had to be taken away, and therefore I didn't have a chance to ask who came here first. I knew there would be an investigation and that I would get the details later. Yeah, but I could not stand the sight of the crash anymore because of the closeness. I met Salos Chilima. Our first pictures are 1975 at Chileka Airport. So we have grown up together, and therefore seeing him in that state, I just had to be taken away of the place. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chair.
There's Casina.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. And once again, good afternoon and welcome, Mr. Varela. I want to take you to your presentation, bullet number 10, where you had left Nkata Bay upon learning that the flight is missing, and you had returned to Nzuzu Airport to confirm the news of the plane was missing. And when you get to Nzuzu Airport, first question is, how was the situation? Who do you meet? Who were there at Nzuzu Airport, where the decisions were being made to send a team to Ekwendeni, and then later on say, no, 2 o'clock, let's go look at MPUNGWE Chikangawa area. And you are driving from Nkata Bay to Nzuzu at that time. How was the weather? And also when you are going for the search, how was the situation and how was the weather? Because yesterday we had a witness who said he had difficulties in driving from Nzuzu to Nkata Bay because of the weather of that morning. Mr. Kita said that. So I want to appreciate you around 12 noon driving from Nkata Bay, the same road to Nzuzu. How was the weather? And how was also the weather from during the search when you around 2 p.m. when you say you had gone starting now the search at Reply? But first is who did you meet? Who were at the Nzuzu Airport? Asami Chair.
You can take those questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. At Nzuzu Airport, we met the officer who seemed to be the one responsible for communication. And he explained that the plane was in touch with the airport when it reached the command area. It had left the Lilongwe command area. As soon as it reached, it reported in. Then it went quiet. Then there was the issue of pilot saying visibility is not good. Our approach from Ekwendeni. Thereafter, there was a brief communication at 12 minutes past 10, and then zero communication. So there was no command center of any sort. It seemed like people would come, talk to the same gentleman, use the information, and start running all over the place. So after coming out of that building, I didn't know where to go. I just stayed around the airport. That's when some well-wishers said, no. The people that went to Ekwendeni have received information that the plane didn't go as far as Ekwendeni. it must be in Chikangawa. My message, which was not replied to the Vice President at 10, described the weather at the village of the Kasambaras. The village is only 20 kilometers, so it's not in Katabe, it's almost in Mzuzu. And therefore, it was raining. The village was muddy. The VVIP podium was invaded by people running away from the rain. We were actually worried that if the VP arrived at 20 past 10, he would not find a space to sit. And we're dealing with that situation. Going back to Mzuzu, it was raining, but the visibility was improving. The visibility that was worrying, where people almost wanted to go back to Lilongwe, was after Mzimbaboma turnoff. From Mzimbaboma turnoff all the way to Mzuzu, visibility was very low. But in the afternoon, when we went for the search, it was getting better, but it was getting colder. And in June, the sun sets earlier. By 5:30, it was really dark. That's when we started traveling all over the place, going into Nghat, in the forest and out. We actually went as far as the new road that takes you to Nkatabe Boma, which is really, really far away. We drove on that tarmac road, ended up at a ground, just hearing story. Oh, we could see people, it was flying low. But those stories ended up being correct when the BFU report showed how the plane was moving up and down on quite a large area. I hope I've tackled the two questions.
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Properly. Thanks.
Lilongwe Mudi, and then Planta Malabada.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you so much, Mr. Varela. We are sorry for the loss. I have a few questions that I just need some confirmation from you, because it's different to what we had earlier on. So I just want that confirmation from you. You mentioned that the burial ceremony was supposed to start at 11 o'clock. And actually, if I heard you right, you said not 10 o'clock. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you so much. And you have also informed us that you went to the house of the late Vice President between 8:30 to 9:30. And in your discussions, you confirmed the passenger list. Do you have this passenger list? Or can you remember people who were in this passenger list? And the third question, I think, which is the second one, because you answered the first one already. You mentioned that there were 10 military officers and, of course, a lot of police officers there. I just want to get a confirmation that these were officers, because in the military they are officers and then they are soldiers. So were these officers and were there soldiers under the command of these officers who were doing the search? So I just want to get clarity whether these were officers, and then the officers usually move with soldiers whom they command. So I wanted to get a clarification on that one. Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson.
You may take those questions.
Yeah, so on the list of passengers was Madam Mary Chilima, Gloria Kamtukule, and the victims that we all know. So these are the two people that were on the list. So something changed in the morning for Madam Chilima and her close protection officer not to be on that aircraft. On officers versus soldiers, sometimes it's not easy to distinguish them if you are a civilian unless you are very keen. Therefore, I would say there were not more than 2 officers in the teams I was with. The rest would be the soldiers. Yeah. Thank you.
Blantyre Malabada, then we'll come to that.
Thank you very much, Chair. My sincere condolences to you, Mr. Valera. I would like to find out your relationship with the late Vice President. Were you friends or you were related? Number 1. Number 2, the late Vice President and the late Honorable Kasambara were very, very close. At any point in time, did the family of the late Kasambara mention to you the state of the weather in Zuzu and what they had experienced on the aeroplane when they were traveling from Blantyre to Zuzu? Third question is, how did you become aware that the late Vice President had changed his mind about not attending the burial ceremony? And what time was that? Thank you very much.
You can answer that question, those 2.
Thank you very much. So the late Vice President's mother was a 3rd born in the Varela family in Insipe, and my father was the 2nd born, and that was the 2nd born. So we are related. We both grew up together in Blantyre, went to Chancellor College. He was just a year behind me, and he was my roommate for 3 years. After finishing school, we lived together in 2 houses before I moved to Lilongwe in 2008. When he came to in 1998. When he came to Lilongwe in 2006, we were in the same neighborhood, and being of the same religion, we were in the same church. So when he became Vice President in 2014, he saw a role of special advisor, which is not a day-to-day job. He trusted me to be his special advisor for the 2 terms he was Vice President. So he was a relative, and we got along, so he was a relative and a friend. The second question?
The second question was on his changing of mind about not attending the funeral, and then he decided to attend.
Yeah, so as I explained earlier on, the fatigue was really wearing on him when he was in South Africa. People noted that he looked tired. And therefore, he decided that he was not going to the funeral, but that there was opportunity. In the Catholic funeral mass, on Sundays cannot start earlier than 12 o'clock. That is the rule. So we calculated that, okay, if people are well organized, they can be at CI exactly at 12, go in, come out at 1:30, and by an hour later, they should be at Chileka Airport. Meanwhile, when the South Africa to Malawi daily flight by Malawi Airways leaves on time at 12:30, 2:30, they should be at Chileka. So there was this small opportunity of condoling the family at Chileka, explaining to them the trip from South Korea to Dubai, Dubai to South Africa, South Africa to Chileka, Chileka to Lilongwe. The next day getting on that flight, there would have been a genuine reason to excuse oneself, and that representative could be sent. So it must be something to do with the relationship he had with Raf, failing to condole the children and the widow. That touched him to say, look, I'll go. It's not easy, but I'll go. And remember, coupled with that was trying to maintain good rapport with the president by not also making an excuse. I've just come back from Korea. I want to go to a funeral. See you when you come back. He also felt compelled to attend the afternoon event of seeing off the president. And when we calculated the hours, it all looked doable, tough, but doable. But then we ended up with this tragedy. Thank you.
There's a Mayani.
There's one question not answered. Mr. Valera, there was a question concerning communication between yourself and the Kasambara family. If they had mentioned that the status of the aeroplane or the status of the flight was not really conducive, did they make any communication in that regard?
Thank you for that question. Mr. Mchuka Mwale, Council Chuka Mwale's wife, was on that plane. It was landing when it was dark because of the delay I mentioned of the hearse. I understand they had to use the headlights of one of the fire engines to improve the illumination of the airstrip. So because of that low visibility, there was a complaint of a hard landing. But otherwise, there was no mention of irregular flying, except that I think the flight left probably after 3:30 and therefore was arriving just before 6, which in our winter in Malawi, the sunset can be as early as 5 o'clock or 5:30. So there was no other complaint about the hard landing, which probably was because of minimal visibility as the plane was landing from Blantyre. Otherwise, on the next day, the plane left and arrived in Lilongwe without any issue. Thanks.
There's Mayani and then Katabe North.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Varela, I really see how tragic that loss has been to yourself personally and the whole family and Malawi as a nation. I just wanted to follow up on some of the presentations that you have made. I'm looking at the idea that in your submission, the late Vice President was tired with the long trip. And you have shown that he really wanted to make sure that he gets in touch with the family by any means. I would like to learn from you, apart from the love and the dedication that he had on his friend and the family, do you think there was any other influence or request for him to go there from any other sources? Chair, if he replies to that question, I'll pose another question. Thank you, Chair, if you can permit me to do that. Thank you.
You can respond to that.
Thank you, Chair. A lot of people were sending him messages to say this was rough. Let us go and escort him in person. So these will be the legal friends. Remember, the Vice President went through a few legal cases, and those were intense, brought the people together, long hours of working. He was not a hands-off client. We would go to Mangochi, spend 3 days, go to Salima, spend 3 days preparing for the various court cases. So the general feeling of the group of lawyers he was working with was it would be important not to miss the burial as practically possible. However, that did not, in my opinion, create a situation where he had to go without his own will. I would be failing in my duty under oath to say he went there because of pressure from this person or that particular person. It was really a group of people grew up together, progressing in careers, and you lose one of them in a strange manner. And then you are grouping and say, look, one of us is not here, he's outside the country. Let's see how all of us can attend. So at the funeral, there were over 20 lawyers and judges that came, and it would have just been an extra in that grouping of close friends wanting to see off a very well-known person. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that response. I really want to understand if at all, apart from the friends, was there any government official at that time whom might have passed any information, according to your understanding, requesting the Vice President for any delegation of duties or anything of that nature in terms of to reach to the decision or to influence his decision to change when the flight didn't correspond at Chileka versus the Hess that was coming in? Would you please inform this committee if there was any government official, whether it's from the higher office of the president itself, that might have played a role to say, maybe, would you please go on my behalf of delegation or anything of that nature, according to the planning. I'm concentrating on the planning of the trip before the before the 10th. Let me put it that way, on the 9th. Let me dwell on that. Thank you.
No, I'm not aware of any higher authority or anybody wearing the government hat suggesting that he definitely has to go. As far as I was concerned, I was supporting him to attend funeral of his friend, and that since he is vice president of a country, a responsibility to speak on the head of state could come in. But as far as I was concerned, from the 7th, I was in the background checking the feasibility of going to the funeral amongst a state visit. In fact, the state visit was moved from 1 or 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. If it was at 1 or 2 o'clock, then he definitely would not have gone for the funeral. He would have stayed in Lilongwe. Yeah.
Chair, my last question. You traveled from Nkata Bay back to Mzuzu, and it was around 10 o'clock. It was raining heavily in Nkata Bay, which was around 20 kilometers or so to Mzuzu Airport. When you were approaching Mzuzu, in your own judgment and opinion and the visibility that you could see, do you think that the weather that you could see around Nkata Bay where you were at 10 o'clock could be almost the same in your own opinion, or on your return at around 12 o'clock? How was the weather like? I just wanted to appreciate how the weather was like in your own opinion. And you may add, including your experience when you were traveling to Nkata Bay, whether it was on the 9th or the 10th, because I didn't get that very clearly. I just wanted you to give us an appreciation on your own judgment on the weather. I know you have mentioned about in Zimba 10 off, but I want to connect with the 10 o'clock on the 10th. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I went to Nkata Bay on the 10th of June. The visibility problems were from Zimba 10 off to just before Mzuzu, you know, where it says select sawmill. There's a roadblock. Mzuzu to Raf Kasambara's village, the visibility was much better. It just that it was raining. It was really more than just a shower. And that's why I said the people in the village were scrambling for the few tents and the few konde areas that were there. That is just before 10. But by 11 o'clock, the rain had stopped and the mass started. So visibility, Nkata Bay to Mzuzu, almost the same. It was getting lighter, and a plane could have landed, in my opinion, at Mzuzu Airport if the approach of Ekwendeni, seeing the road in Ekwendeni Bwengu, following that road, and once you see a lot of buildings, the pilots have a way of turning and landing there. So that's what I can say on the visibility.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the chance to ask a question to Mr. Varela. First of all, so say my condolence to you and your family for the big loss. Secondly, I've got one question. I think it's a continuation or confirmation from the question which has been asked by the Longwe Mude about the funeral service. You confirmed to this committee that the funeral service started at 11 a.m. So my question is, did you, by the chance at that particular time, go through the funeral program from the family? Thank you.
You can answer that.
Yes, I was coordinating with Mr. Mchuka Mwale, the cousin. The vice president would not have arrived in time for a 10 o'clock funeral because of the mobility issues. So the agreed time was 11 o'clock. That's what was communicated to me. After seeing that a person who should have landed at 5 minutes past 10 go to change in a hotel and be at the funeral by 1:45, and that was not happening. The family looked at people traveling all the way from Blantyre. They need to return the aircraft probably by 6 p.m. the same day. and a decision was made that there were enough senior people from government for the service to start while we are understanding the situation of the delayed arrival of the Vice President. And MBC has the records. If you check the video of that funeral, you actually can tell what time the service started. You see me leaving the VIP podium, meeting Professor Dan Kuwali, where a notification of missing plane was given to me, and I did not continue with the rest of the program. Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you so much, Chair, for giving this chance the people of Cheudos invite to ask a question to Mr. Joshua Varela. According to your explanation, Mr. Joshua, you told this committee that WhatsApp messages to the VP and others were not going through. I would like to know what exactly time did you notice that? Secondly, you also indicated that after you noticed that the WhatsApp messages were not going through, you called a friend from aviation offices and he told you that expect the worst. Can you tell this committee your response or reaction regarding to that statement? Thank you.
Thank you very much. It must have been just before 10 o'clock that I was reporting as an advance party person that I've arrived. The weather is wet. There's a bit of disorganization, but by the time you arrive, we'll have sorted out things. So that is the message that didn't go through. I tried to message the guard commander, late Kapeni, again, message not going through. So by past, I started now calling the people in Mzuzu on the convoy, and the driver said, look, we haven't seen the plane. We haven't heard anything. I called the people that escorted the VP to the Kamuzu International Airport. They were back in the office. They had not heard anything. So when I was being beckoned at 11 o'clock to say the plane is officially missing, that worried me. And then the aviation expert saying the plane is not in the air, it must be on the ground. Crash landing is the best thing you can hope for, or it is a crash. Yeah, so I was distraught. I called a close cousin, Dr. Ephraim Chilima, from the other side of the family, explaining that, look, we're in this situation. The worst case scenario is we would have lost our relative, but let's keep phoning. There was also the issue of refueling, to say maybe it is a communication equipment issue. The plane is still flying. It will officially not be in the air after 4 hours of leaving Lilongwe. So there was a bit of a chance that maybe before 1 o'clock the plane can appear somewhere, because it had 4 hours of fuel. But after 1:30, we were really looking for a plane on the ground and not at an alternative airport or not flying around somewhere in Malawi. Thank you.
let me get the Zakassin out of the way.
All right, thank you. Once again, Mr. Valera, I was referring your presentation to what the PS quest said. I want to take you to bullet number 4 and 5 of your presentation. Which one started? The General Ishmael of Air Force advising the family that should approve temporary release of the thing, or it was after Army Commander, because according to Mr. Skc, the commander had already given go ahead, and he had asked the office of the vice president to be the one to talk to the Kasambala family, and according to PS Skc, it was you who talked to the family. Who talked to the family of Kasambala to release the plane. So according to your blading, it looks like the first was the Army commander approving, and then the General of Air Force saying no, it cannot be released. So I wanted to get a clarity on that one, and also on the manifest. You have only taken out 2 names which you said were initially supposed to be in that plane. Was PS Skc not supposed to be in that plane?
Thank you very much. So the timing of the conversations between PS Dr. Skc with General Ishmael and the Army Commander, I wasn't privy to the discussions or the timing. What I was asked is, can you speak to the family? There will be need for them not to be surprised that the aircraft is being used by the VP. In fact, they paid for use of that aircraft. They will need to understand the need to release the aircraft temporarily, that they will use it at the time that it was meant to be used for returning relatives to Blantyre. Yeah, so since I wasn't in the same space with the PS Skc, I don't know which started first. All I know is I was able to meet 2 family members, and Mr. Mchuka Mwale approved that the plane can be used by the VP in the morning, returned by latest 3 o'clock, and then the rest of the family program can go ahead. Thank you.
And the other one, if the PS Skc was not supposed to be, and while we're handling that one, I wanted to say, if I heard you right, you said during the search you had gone to that road which goes to Nkatabe Boma. It goes to Nkatabe.
Zimba.
Zimba, rather than Zimba. And the people there could tell you that they saw it. It was flying at a low, and then you can connect. You saying you can relate. It became true after a BFU report. You say so. If you can confirm that one as well.
Yeah, so at this point, I had no information as to who the VP will be with in the aircraft, apart from himself and the wife. So the list that was being confirmed when I met the VP after 8:30 in the evening, a decision would have been made already, could have been made already, that the PS will not go on that trip. Yeah, so the building up on the list, I was not involved. I knew I would be going as advance party, using a vehicle, and the rest of the team, the VP was in charge of choosing who accompanies him. On the BFU report, where we found the aircraft and where we went at about 9 p.m. is not less than 70 kilometers. And therefore, we were all surprised that we met people in very far apart areas mentioning having seen a plane and that they could even see the people inside the plane, which means it was really, really flying low. When BFU analyzed the data from the Garmin machine, it is when we said, look, there were points in that journey where the plane was a few feet from the ground, less than 100 meters. So it all started making sense that, yeah, people really saw the aircraft near the ground when it was going low, and then it would go very high up. At 12 minutes past 10, I think it really went up so that it was in line of sight with the communication equipment at Mzuzu Airport. Yeah, so to me, the BFU report, the graphs that they put there, showed that the aircraft was moving in circles and in a wide area. And therefore, it was difficult to do the search because people would call the police and say, we saw the aircraft. You run there, there's conflicting evidence, but you look at the people in the face and see that, no, I think these people are not lying, but where is the aircraft? So that's how we ended that evening. A lot of people saying, we saw it, but they were very far apart from each other.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. It's just a quick question which I want to confirm, which I want Mr. Varela to confirm, and it's coming from the responses that you gave when you were mentioning about the time of arrival of the VP in Mzuzu, and then go, in your words, you said go change at the hotel and then go to the funeral. So I want a confirmation if there was a plan that when the VP arrives in Mzuzu, he will go change and then go to the funeral. I want that confirmation. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I want to confirm that a room was booked. He had a regular room that used to use at Mzuzu Hotel. Security personnel were there in place, waiting, and they had carried his clothes that he would change into. I can confirm that. Yeah.
Blantyre Malabad, and then we'll take Zomba Tondwe and Zomba Cities.
Thank you very much, Chair. My first question is a supplementary to a question posed by Honorable Dias Bengo on the two friends from the aviation department. Do you have the names of these two friends? Are they still with the aviation department? And when you are in communication with them, at any point, did you ask them or did they offer to you that they would try to locate the aircraft via the airport's radar system? Number two, you had also mentioned that you had arrived at the accident scene and you had found the scene cordoned off. Do you recall at what time you had arrived or what time it had been cordoned off? By who, the military or the police? Third question, being very close to the late Vice President, being a relative as well as a friend, at any point in time, did he confide in you or did you advise him concerning his safety, that maybe he would beef up his security, perhaps because he feared for his life? Last question, did your advance team, especially the security that had arrived in Mzuzu, ever mention to you the condition of the weather, whether it was conducive for flying? Thank you very much.
You may take those questions so that we can wrap up this side.
Please repeat the first question, the very, very first one.
First question is concerning your two friends with the aviation department. What are their names? Are they still with the aviation department? And did they offer to you to help in locating the aeroplane when they had indicated to you that it was missing via the radar equipment at the airports? Thank you.
Yeah, so these colleagues are in aviation industry. One is a serving pilot. Another one is a retired pilot. Now, without their permission, it would not be good for me to mention their names. I need to get permission from them. So they are pilots that have flown the Donia before. One is retired, one is a serving pilot. So I could provide the names to the chair once I get approval from them. The advance team is in two places. There's a convoy that was positioned the same morning from Lilongwe. It left at 4:30. So I was just behind that convoy. I should have been together with that convoy if a colleague I was giving a lift had not arrived late at the meeting point. So these are the people that said, yes, the weather is not good. They secured the room and they went to wait for the aircraft. And because it was not a very official meeting, my other colleagues, personal assistants to the VP were not there, were not really necessary, didn't want to bother them. So on the political appointees, which is what some of us were, I was enough advance party on the civilian side and non-police side. So the mention of the weather to warn people that are in an aircraft, maybe we should have done that, but I did not alert the VP that the weather is bad. I trusted the pilots to be able to say the weather is navigable by air or not. So when I heard that the aircraft had arrived safely in Lilongwe and had left just slightly late by 17 minutes, I assumed that everything is fine. On the threat to Dr. Salos Klaus's life and needing beefing up of security, I'd like to understand how it is linked to the plane crash. But he has always lived dangerously. He was only liked by half the people in politics. The other people hated him. Now there's only a few things one can do to be safe. So he was mostly at home, not moving around at night, etc. But we did not see the need to bring in special forces, retired soldiers from outside the country. He would go to church every morning with only 2 security people. Yeah, so the linkage with the air crash, I don't know. He, just like all of us, had enemies. He had lots of enemies, lots of friends. There are people that wished him dead. We hear some people celebrated his death, and there are people that are crying for him up to today and forever. So there's limited action one can do to avert actions of one's enemy. So no special beefing up of security was advised to him.
Zomwe Tondwe? and then Zomba City South.
Thank you so much, Chair. I only have two or so questions. The first one, Mr. Valera, is through Chair, is to confirm from you that other than the special advisory role and the relations, but I would want you to confirm that when it comes to official matters at that level, in terms of administrative, logistical issues, with reference to implementation of the same, it was Dr. Skc. Is that correct? In terms of responsibility, Dr. Skc, but Director of the Administration then, or PS Administration then, Yesaya, and his assistant, Alfred Ngoma, were really the ones running the show, fueling cars, maintaining cars, buying air tickets, organizing allowances. It would be Mr. Yesaya and Mr. Ngoma. The rest of us political appointees didn't have any administrative powers. We would only suggest improvements, remind things that the VP doesn't like, and just make sure we have a smooth operation, because we were on the advisory side. Thanks.
I wanted that confirmation to be on record, Chair. That's number one. Number two, you mentioned that the SEC teams were about 70 plus kilometers away from each other, rather with reference to the accident scene, the crash site, and where it was suspected, or rather where the SEC team was about 70 kilometers apart. I wanted to understand from your side, did you at any point in time heard something like there was a signal? I'm asking that because, Mr. Valera, you've mentioned somewhere that the way you saw the teams, the SEC teams, the army and the police, it looked like they had no starting point. So did you at any point heard something like they had a signal directing them to be searching in 70 kilometers away, or they didn't know what they were doing? You may relate the same with the information you might have gathered from Zuzu Airport. I submit, Chair.
Yeah, my submission was that from Raiplai to the crash site is 30 kilometers. But from Raiplai, we went the wrong way. We went south towards Nzimbaboma, which I estimated to be 70 kilometers from the actual crash site. Now, that tells me that the search was based on eye and ear witnesses. Taimva ndege tinaiona, without asking the time, and people in the village maybe normally would not have a watch to remember what time it was. But now the BFU report showed us that there was a point where a decision was made in the cockpit to go left, then come back left, cross the M1 to go right. So all those areas were reporting, we saw the aircraft. So with the missing equipment on the plane, whether it was removed intentionally or not, it wasn't replaced because of budget etc. We were searching without digital help. And therefore, we had people trying to organize drones from universities to really try and search the whole area, make images so that maybe by luck the plane could be found. So to me, verbal information from Mzuzu The last communication was 10:12, and they were mentioning Ekwendeni. It seems like there was no one in the world who would have guessed where this aeroplane was. And that affected the search, because you now had to rely on citizens on the ground. Did you hear anything? Did you see anything? And that meant searching on a much, much wider area. If the TLB, if that gadget TL something, ELT was active, then the search would have been much, much easier. So people say, look, that would not have prevented the accident, has been repeated in previous reports, but we think army equipment that takes civilians like VVIPs should be using civil rules and not military rules, because we are carrying civilians, and therefore the safety nets that are there in the civilian world should be the ones used when you're carrying VVIPs or you have hired out the equipment to civilians. I think that's what I've learned from the accident. Therefore, there were aircrafts available in Malawi. First Capital has an aircraft. Ulendo has an aircraft. The civil rules would not have allowed them to fly out to go and look for the other plane because the weather was not good enough. And yet a VP and entourage was allowed to leave the ground when civilian rules would not have allowed that. So that's what I can say on the issue.
Zomwe City.
Thank you so much, Chair. Let me also extend condolences from the people of Zomwe City South to you and family. I have a couple of questions. Number one is just to follow up on the Zagasina, who referred us to your bullet number 4, where you spoke about PS Dr. Skc proceeded to book, etc., etc. I'm interested in the time. Can you confirm that this was done between 15 hours and 17 hours, not earlier, not later? Secondly, to also take it up from Zomba Tondwe, you did mention that you found 10 MDF, what I would call not officers, but soldiers. And you also mentioned that you are being split into 12 groups, if I heard you correctly. Can you confirm these two statements?
Through you, Chair. The first statement is based on the chronology of the commercial flight leaving Blantyre. I was part of the welcome party at Kia when the Vice President and entourage were arriving from Johannesburg via Chileka. And therefore, PS Skc should have started arranging the hire of the aircraft after the VP instructed him, having failed to meet the family in Chileka at around 3 o'clock. It couldn't have been earlier because the decision was made after failing to meet the family. It wouldn't have been later than 5 o'clock because that would have been a bit too late. The plane was supposed to leave early in the morning. So after arriving in Lilongwe, he would have been making the arrangements. It was at 6 o'clock that I started working on the family approval, which I received after 7 o'clock, and then I I proceeded to go and meet the principal. On groups of 12, that was on the 10th, on the 11th. On the 10th, we have left Nkatabe, we are moving around in Mzuzu, then we are rushing to Chikangawa. We passed Ntungwa, we didn't know we have passed the crash site. We went to Chikangawa factory. There we were moving as one group. We would go into the forest on the left, look around on the road, afraid to go in the bush, come out. You take another turn, we've heard this. And then the last attempt was this trip to almost in Zimbabwe, where we arrived at a football ground. The plane was like this. We saw the people. It was about 11 o'clock. Other people are saying it was 9 o'clock. The next day, there were much more people. That is when a decision was made to split into 12 groups. So on that day, there would have been almost 100 soldiers, maybe 200 police. So I needed to clarify that this is now the 11th, 6 a.m. On the 11th, after people, maybe they slept there in Chikangawa, most people went back to Mzuzu, other people were coming all the way from Lilongwe. So I needed to distinguish these 2 days.
Thank you. Proceeding Chair, you were very close to late VP, and let me also ask if you have information, maybe from Skc himself, that he spoke to his boss upon returning from South Korea before embarking on the Chikangawa or the Zuzu trip. Chair, he did mention about late Raf Kasambara, that he died under strange circumstances, if I remember correctly. Bwana Valera, does it bother you that 2 people who are very close to you died under quote-unquote strange circumstances? Do you consider that a coincidence, or does it bother you that this happened within a space of 3 days, both under strange, as you call it, strange circumstances? Finally, Chair, I think it has been cleared when you were responding to, was it Dezamayani or someone else? I was about to ask about how many advance teams from the VP's office went to Mzuzu, but it appears there are 2. One that went on the 9th, and you and others who went on the 10th. Can you maybe volunteer, maybe a lead to the 9th team that went to Mzuzu? Who led that advanced team, if you have information on that? I submit, Chair.
Thank you very much. When I arrived at the VP office, I was with Counsel Sentala, one of his legal friends. We did several discussions. We had several discussions. The issue of the VP talking to the president, it would have been only by phone because he landed at about 3 in Chileka, landed at about 3:30 in Lilongwe. So between 4:30 and 8:30, when I was meeting him, we did not discuss whether there was a phone conversation with the president. The issue of Raf Kasambala dying in Lilongwe, where he was doing some consultancies, I suspect he died on the 6th, discovered on the 7th, and then the VP arriving on the 9th, deciding to go to the funeral and dying along the way is a strange coincidence. I do not have any data points that would suggest a linkage between these 2 deaths. I'd be speculating if I do that, but it was a very unfortunate coincidence. but that there was a linkage, a death in a lodge in Lilongwe and a death in a forest in MPUNGWE. I'm failing to find the linkage. I don't have any information, source of information to link the two deaths.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Valera. Just want to ascertain one or two things. You said that around 11 o'clock, you were called and informed. You were called aside by Professor Brigadier General Dan Kuali. You stated it, and you were informed about the missing aircraft. And I just wanted to appreciate, what was the mood, what was the tone that you were told to leave immediately? That's what you said. Am I correct?
I wasn't told to leave the funeral immediately. I was told to move out of the VVIP podium, where I was sitting behind the seat that should have been occupied by the VP if he had arrived. So he was asking me to move out so that we can talk. After talking, I decided not to go back to that seat because I needed to join the search at some point, communicate with family, check with the office, etc. So the mood was of concern. Look, the plane is missing, and as the military, we are making moves to find it. So that was the circumstance that we dealt with that day.
Meaning to say that you decided to leave when you were free to leave the place, correct?
Yes, I decided after making phone calls for about an hour, I decided that let me move out of Nkatabe. Let me see what information I can get in Mzuzu.
Did you take leave? Did you say bye to the people, that the authorities that were there, the senior government officials?
No, I did not say bye to anybody. I just moved out quietly, letting the funeral process proceed. It is mass, so before Ndikulurira, if I leave, I don't even want to come back to the mass. I needed to look for the missing plane. I need to be part of finding the missing plane.
Suggesting that it was not possible for other officials to accompany you because you left without saying any byes. Because here was a VP missing, but you left on your own.
Yes, that's what I did.
Can you explain to us, you are a close family member of the Chilimans, apart from you being the special advisor. We've listened to you, your testimony. What misgivings do you have about the whole process, the flight itself, up until now? Because the family is still not satisfied. But we want to hear it from you.
I came here not as a member of the family. I came here as employee of the OVP. What I should have done differently is insist that he shouldn't get on that aircraft, because family had said they would understand the VP not going to funeral of a good friend. He had other friends, therefore I should have insisted that he shouldn't go. That's what I would have done differently. Now, as a family, most of the misgivings are based on really the handling of the search, the handling of the bodies, the leakage of autopsy reports, and many other such things. So that's on the family side. But for me, as somebody working in his office, we did try with Mr. Sentala, Council Sentala, to tell the VP that please don't go. And he said, look, you don't know how close, how helpful Raf was to me since I met him 20-something years ago. I'll have to go tomorrow. If I'm going to die, all of us are going to die one day, let it be. So I do not know where I would have gotten the energy to persuade him to say, look, listen to me, I'm your advisor, but it didn't happen that way.
Thank you very much, Ms. I just wanted us to be very clear on some of the gray areas, but we appreciate your time. You're going to take us backwards.
Yes. Sorry, it's
it means
from the statement.
The other guys will start asking questions again. I'm going to go backwards. So
I can pass if it's...
Yeah, let it pass.
Yeah, I can pass. It's okay.
Yeah, let it pass. Otherwise, I'll set another precedent.
Yeah.
So let me close and ask you to make any further comments. Maybe something you haven't said here that you reported to the other inquiry, that you haven't disclosed here, so that at least we have any information or your final sentiments.
No, just to appreciate the country's leadership for forming this committee. The previous reports left a lot of gaps, and we trust this committee to close those gaps. We've just done a Chiliza for Dr. Saulos Klaus Chilima, but without a report, satisfactory report from this committee, the closure is refusing to come to the family. So I just want to encourage you that, continue with the good work you're doing. We will be expecting a report that, closes the issue of that air crash. Would want to call it an air accident based on your report when you give us the reason why it was an accident and not just a crash. For now, we always call it an aircraft crash until we understand what really happened. Secondly, central government, let's look at all the reports and correct the things in our aviation industry. When I went with the VP 2014 to the air wing, I saw 14 non-functioning helicopters. 12 years later, the country has no helicopter. That should be avoided. On the fixed wing, we have aircraft sitting in Chileka belonging to the military. We have Donias out of service, without recorders, without this and that. We would want really central government to take seriously the issue of civil and military aviation and fix things. There should be a plan for fixing aircrafts and even developing local civil airlines. There was a time in the past when one would fly to Clubmark, fly to Lekoma, fly to Karonga, but that is not obtaining at the moment. So central government, please fix the plans. Karonga to Mzuzu Road is very bad. I hear people are driving to Mbeya to fly to Dar es Salaam and fly to Chileka. That seems to be the cheapest and quickest way to move from Karonga to Chileka, and that should give all of us shame. Let's fix our country. Let's fix things that are glaringly not in place. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks to all the committee members and Secretariat.
No, thanks you, Mr.
Welcome to MPUNGWE-PUNGWE YouTube channel. Subscribe for you to enjoy more of our videos anytime we upload.